Good morning, everybody. Nice to have you all here. My name is Abiodun. I'm sales executive for Latest Data Analytics. And I'm going to be talking to you and introducing my colleagues here. And we're going to be talking about the solution and webinar and everything we're going to discuss today. But we still need to hold on for about 5 more minutes. Permit me to say this because we have a number of people still having issues on connecting and then coming onto this live event. Let's just give them about 5 more minutes, then we'll start the webinar. And as I said earlier, it's good to have you here, and we really appreciate your presence. Thank you very much. Thank you once again for your presence. I'm Habiodo, as I said earlier, and we're about to start the webinar now. The reason why we didn't start early is because most of the people attending, or some of the people attending, are having issues, and they need to download the Microsoft solution first to their systems before they can join live. And as soon as we're able to get a number, and as soon as we see that we can go live, and like we are starting soon. Please be patient, and we're starting in about 2 minutes now. Thank you very much.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Um, my name is Abiodun Olokunde, and I'm the sales executive for Lotus Beta Analytics. And a brief introduction about Lotus Beta Analytics, if you don't know us already. Lotus Beta Analytics were Microsoft Cloud solution partners, and got gold certifications. And we have a number of customers who've been talking to, who've been around and who've been in operation, who've been serving our customers for the past 9 years and still counting. And I have my colleague here, Amaka, and I have Uche from the cloud, and from the cloud session, and I have Amaka also from the service team. We are going to be talking to you about the current trend that we are having right now, due to the fact that most companies actually went down. They needed to have remote connection. They needed to work from different locations. They need to bring their desktop to wherever they are in terms of working remotely without having to spend more, having to spend extra cost right now. So what we are going to be talking about today on this webinar is actually companies' plans, problems, and actually your plan for the post-COVID-19, COVID-19 permitting seller. So I'm going to leave the floor for Amaka, who is going to be talking to you briefly about the solution, and I will pick it up from there. Amaka, are you there?
Thank you very much, Biodun, for that wonderful introduction. As you mentioned, my name is Amaka, and I am pleased to have these wonderful people to talk to today on this solution. But without further delay, I would like to welcome us once more to this session, and I hope it will be of great benefit to our various organizations. Please let me know when you can't hear me or when the network is bad. Actually, Windows Virtual Desktop is not something so new. It has been there since the time of Windows Server, and I believe most of us are familiar with it. And Microsoft has also stepped up the solution to better enable more workforce, such that they made it available on client systems, on Windows 10 client machine, as the case may be. But before I go deep into what the solution is all about and how it is going to help us build a productive work environment, I would quickly want to go through the challenges we have been facing or we are currently facing and might still face as a management or as of a company or as an employee. Like most of us are aware, what we've always had so far in our environment has always been issues around having to go through procurement processes when there is a need for a new server or IT infrastructure, as the case may be, also for upgrade and all, down to bringing in a system administrator to do all kinds of configuration to enable it useful to the end users. And we all know that we've all seen that this is actually time consuming. And aside the length of time this traditional way of IT implementation would cost the business, we also are faced with issues around security, issues around how we cater for contract workers, or we'll call them short-term employees or workers, whereby we don't have the ability of flexibility to enable bring in your own devices. Do we need to consider buying high-end computing devices? These are some of the questions some business owners ask themselves since they are short-term contracts, and we know that most of these short-term employees will stay with the organization for like some few months. So these and many more are some of the issues currently faced around infrastructure or around the business environments. And as we know, IT is evolving, and it is important to begin to have a paradigm shift. And what I'm trying to indicate here is that when I mean by paradigm shift is that Windows Virtual Desktop is going to do all this I mentioned and more. But before I begin to look at Windows Virtual Desktop, I would like us to embrace the evolution that has happened in the IT world, where cloud has become a force. Everyone is talking about cloud. When I say cloud, Azure, everybody's talking about the cloud. Most enterprise and corporate organizations are beginning to embrace the cloud. we also know that cloud as a service has really helped significantly when it comes to capital expenditure. It has helped in reducing capital expenditure to operational expenditure. This has eliminated that. But we'll come to this aspect of costing later on in this section. My colleague will take care of that. But I would also like us to really look at the virtualization as a service, or virtualization, as I believe most of my audience here are IT personnel. I know that we've had the word virtualization. We've used it in our current office environments. But how do we bring this together? I mean, virtualization and the cloud. What does it try to address when it comes to the aforementioned problems in the previous slide that was shown? I believe every one of us here takes security seriously. And Microsoft has really done a good job in bringing out solutions that would really help in ensuring that data is well secured. Wherever it is well secured. You don't have to you don't have to bother yourself with all that. Microsoft has taken care of that. But that is not the business of today. What I'm trying to say here is that Windows Virtual Desktop solution would help to address the security solution. The feature is well taken care of by Microsoft. Microsoft takes care of the security aspect in the back. What we have to, so we can focus more on operational aspect of the business. But of course, we know that security is a shared responsibility too. Aside ensuring that we bring in our policy, aside ensuring that we also bring in our policies to ensure that whosoever would have access to our company's data is compliant enough. Not just anybody can access this data, even though they're in cloud. One feature about this is that even though it's cloud, there's a policy that will be put in place and just not anybody can access this data in cloud, and it's well secured. And also, we also have to look at the things virtualization in the cloud has been able to break, as the issues I've raised as the issues I've raised earlier on. It does not support bringing your device. That's the traditional way. It does not support short-term employees and all that. And one important aspect or one important benefit of this virtualization is that it enables specialized workload. What do I mean by that? Imagine you want to bring in a specialist who will do a very short job for you in your organization, say for some few weeks or so. They would require that you provide a high computing devices. We know how expensive these are, and this is actually worrisome to decision makers or IT administration in organization. As I mentioned earlier, virtualization helps take care of this, or virtualization in the cloud helps take care of this. Also, the procurement process of all the various protocols you have to go through and all in order to get an upgrade or configure a system or device. These are some of the problems which virtualization in the cloud would help to significantly address. Why Windows Virtual Desktop? I'm sure some of us are wondering why Windows Virtual Desktop when I have other similar solutions that can give me the same thing. One major thing is that Microsoft has done a good job in ensuring a good user experience for this Windows Virtual Desktop. Wherever you are, you can access it. In trying to ensure that, and also in trying to ensure that security is top notch, amongst other things. And also we have this multiple Windows session experience where organization can gain efficiency by having multiple users connected to a single virtual machine, which breaks away from the old way of doing one-to-one user or one user connected to one VM, and it also reduces cost significantly for an organization. And also, as a sales analyst, I would want to buttress or emphasize on the cost effectiveness of the solution. This solution would really help us in the shift in the capital expenditure of business to operational expenditure, where we don't need to bother ourselves around system admin having to configure a new server or device or upgrade and all. All these are almost taken care of by the cloud. So basically, there is going to be a move from the old system of doing things to concentrating now on operations. And one major one major benefit or feature of Windows Virtual Desktop is that it enables, it gives room for remote working. As we all know what's happening, most organizations are working from home. Remote working is the in thing now. So remote workers have more flexibility to work better and efficiently. It creates an environment that works with employee schedule, allows them to work anywhere and anytime efficiently and effectively. And this brings about better organization or work culture. So in conclusion, I believe that any organization looking for a more efficient, productive, and secure approach to desktop virtualization and workforce, this solution will be of great benefit to you. I would hand over to my colleague Abiodun, who would further explain better on how this, on the costing of the solution and the prerequisites for us getting this solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that lovely presentation, Amaka. Really appreciate your time and the effort as well. I wanted to add to what she has said before going on that please, if you have any question, you can actually send in your questions in the Q&A provided there, and we'll take your questions and we'll try as much as possible to attend to each and every one's question and concern around whatever we are talking about and presenting today. And if you have anything you want to ask or probably your views as well, please feel free to send in your questions and we'll get to them as soon as we can. And just to go on from what Amaka has said. So the Windows Virtual Desktop actually a very magnificent solution from Microsoft. It's a comprehensive desktop and app virtualization service that is running in the cloud. It is only a virtual desktop infrastructure that delivers simplified management and multi-session Windows 10. It optimizes your Office that you already own, talking about the Office 365 Pro Plus, and also supports remote desktop, that's RDS environments, as Amaka has rightly said. One beautiful thing about it is that you can deploy and scale your Windows desktop and applications on Azure in a matter of minutes. And you get built-in security and compliance features. So, WDB is a cloud as it's in the cloud, and it's a desktop as a service offering from Microsoft. Basically, it is on Azure. So remote desktop and app virtualization provide access to an environment that is tailored for each and every user's needs, depending on each and every user's need in their organization or environment, as it may be. So whether it is an application or a business or desktop environment, you could actually pull everything up from that. It has various capabilities like full desktop environment. Could actually create a different environment based on each and every user's needs. And also, to cap it all up, you can have multiple sessions at the same host, keeping your costs down. So talking about the cost now, and that is where I'm coming right now. So imagine a typical scenario where for each Windows 10 single session on-prem, you need to create Windows 10, each and every Windows 10, you need to create a session, each and every session for each people or each person or each of your employees, one user to one smaller VM with low utilization. If you look at the first picture, you see that you need to pay more for the infrastructure on-prem for each and every user that you are going to be creating in terms of infrastructure, support, and everything. And think about the cost that you're going to spend. Well, imagine you having a Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session with Windows Virtual Desktop. Many users have one large VM with high utilization and low operational cost. This is a very good example of the way you could cut your costs. Example of economic benefit is about 85% cost you are going to cut on each session you create on the Microsoft Azure. For it, maybe typically you spend a $40 on-prem to create each and every user for different users, numbering about 100 plus 200 1,000. So with just $7 per month, you could create as high as 1,000 users on Microsoft Virtual Desktop. Total cost of about 85% of the overhead that you normally spend. So Windows Virtual Desktop is, as I've said, is a cost-effective and scalable cloud solution that delivers mechanism for complex business application, which is maintained by Microsoft using the Azure AD. The WADB management service are included in some of the licenses that you already own. So that's one good thing about it. So if you have M365, E3, E5, E3, A5, F1, as you see on the slide, actually have access to these pulling applications from this solution and from this license that you already own. So for instance now, if you want to access Windows 10 Enterprise or Windows 7 Enterprise at no additional cost, if you have eligible Windows 10 Enterprise or Microsoft 365 license, you have access to this, or you could access desktop powered by Windows Server remote desktop services at no additional cost if you're already an eligible Microsoft remote desktop service client access after customer. And you can only pay for Azure Compute, storage, and network associated with the virtual machines that you use in your environment. Just a simple Azure Compute is basically going to be based on the VMs you create and all. So it's going to be based on and that's it from my own end. I am bringing in Uche now, who is going to be talking about the demo. So before Uche comes in, really, you know that at a glance, UEB is the best visual desktop experience right on Azure so far. And the key points that that deliver the only multi-session Windows 10 experience, enabling optimization for Office 365 Pro Plus, migrate Windows servers, RDA desktop and apps, and you could deploy and scale in about a matter of minutes. One good thing about it, once you decided, you could even pick up today, right now, yes. I don't know if you have any questions and you have any inquiries, please put it in the Q&A and we'll take them as soon as we can. Uche, are you ready for us?
Yeah, Jordan, I'm ready. Yeah, thanks very much for that. So, without any further delay, I will just quickly go over to the demo session. But before that, I want to be sure the attendees can actually hear me. So please, if you can't, just comment on that from the comment section so we can quickly check out what that could be. So I will quickly share my screen to show us how this application or how this solution works and how we can intuitively use this to bridge the gap for whatever issues we are currently facing in our environment. So yes, but before then, there are actually two or there are different ways that you can actually access this application, either through the remote client or through the browser. So okay. Okay, yeah, I trust we can all see my screen. I would as well share the portal too, but quickly I want to introduce this particular client we can use to access this application. Yeah, basically you can get this application from the web. You can download it, remote desktop client. or you can as well want to use a mobile device, just in case that's a preference or an option for you, which you can also download this remote desktop from any of the Play stores, depending on the operating system you are running. Okay, so basically, what we've done so far, just as my other colleagues have introduced this solution to us, this is actually enable you to publish applications for your users to be able to use this from wherever they are. So I would do a quick um, a quick simulation or demo concerning this solution by just running a simple app quickly. Then we'll go over to the other sections of this. Yeah, beforehand we've actually tried to tried to do all these prepared environments just to also ensure we are quick at whatever we are doing on this. So what the person just needs to do is, of course, typically you come to your you come to your, let me share my entire desktop so we can see. Okay, I think it's better off now. So I will cancel this and start off again. So what you of course do is, once you have downloaded this particular client that I've already mentioned, remote desktop client, you can always come to your start bar or wherever it is on whichever device you are running, and just try to find it. So it's not this regular remote desktop connection that comes by default on Windows machine, but this which you downloaded. As you can see, this symbol, this red icon that shows us that, okay, this is the client where we can use to actually access this application, which is one option. And of course, another option is using the web too, which we can as well want to custom this, but I will mention that too. So let's quickly go over to the client and launch this. So let's assume I want to launch my Word application. Let's assume I'm the end user and who wants to use one of these applications right now. Okay, so I will launch this, and of course type in my, it will ask for my credentials, so I'll just have to type in my password, and then I'll say okay. Now what it tries to do is, once you of course do that, just the same way you would remove two applications to a server, it will do this and launch this application for you. As you can see, this is actually the one I've opened before now, so that's why it's still opening. And then this is my Microsoft Word, which I've launched, that I can of course do whatever I want to do on it, and I save. So of course, just the same way, just the same look and feel you have when you are also launching your native application from your machine. So the good part about the client is, once you do this from this remote desktop client, you don't have to always come to launch this remote desktop client before you have to use it. Once you do that, what it does for you is that it adds recently accessed applications for you too in your recently added, which we can find here. So in subsequent logins and subsequent usage of this, I don't have to always open that. I just have to click on Word, and I should be fine with whatever I want to do. So okay, a quick one here. Let me just do an hello world and try to save this. Okay, so I can of course either want to leverage my OneDrive, okay, which will also help me to always have it even when I'm not able to remote, or I don't want to remote to this application. I can always access my applications too on my OneDrive once I already have my OneDrive installed on my personal device. Yeah, and but for this I would just want to save this in let's say in my documents, of course, and I'll just hit save, and then we should be all good. So these are saved to this PC. Now, the good part of this is, based on what my other colleagues have mentioned about security and all that, the good part of this is not saving directly on the user's device. this, you can't find this on any of on my personal device right now. It is saving on the VM device or on a shared storage that has been provisioned for easy access and all that. So and for you to also be able to carry your profiles around, irrespective of wherever machine you find yourself using. Yeah. So I will just close this, and of course, another interesting part is now I have we've also tried to publish some other applications that might be so closely related to whatever we are doing in our environment. We have okay, let me just quickly launch one of these applications. This is the QuickBooks I've actually published that we can use to probably have a clearer picture of what this can help us achieve in our environment. So let's assume that this is an ERP system or wherever it might be. Yeah. So and of course, basically, most times this kind of applications would reside in your on-premise environment, and because of these issues we are currently facing right now, our employees might not be able to access this solution or this application. So with this WVD, it has enabled us to publish this application, whether or not it is sitting in the on-premises infrastructure or whether it has been moved to the cloud. But I won't go through the process of relaunching this. I will just have to launch another new application that has not been launched before. So based on how this has been configured, with this, our client application is dependent on this server, which I would want to run first before I would go over to launch. As you can see, all this thing that's popping up is not actually, it's looking as though it's from my system, but it's not really my system. It is the machine on the cloud that is actually doing all this behind the scene for us. So, and from this, we can see from this icon, yeah, we can see this WVD icon, which shows that, okay, which shows that this is an application residing in the cloud, which is being accessed via remote desktop. So I will launch this to this box, yeah. So and another good part of this, while we're waiting for this to launch, another good part of this is you can, okay, another good part of this is you can choose, you have the flexibility of choosing what and what you want your users to be able to access. Now that is to say, if I have another user that has not been given permissions to access any of these applications, this will not appear. Neither will, if I've not published them in having access to the full desktop too, it will as well not appear. I think I have this launched twice. Let me close one session. So I will click on login. So with this, we're able to access this application, which will open shortly. Before we then head over to the before we head over to the web browser part, which is basically the same field too you will have, just as you have with these remote desktop clients that I'm already doing. And also, just as we've seen, we have all this actually opened up for us to use and do whatever we need to do, depending on the application that we've intended to publish for our end users or employees. Yeah. So I would quickly head over to, and that is just the same way too you will launch. It's just as simple as that. The same way you also launch other applications too that you will launch. So before we move on, okay, let me do this. Let's just quickly head over to the, okay, now for this, let me see if I can do this again. Okay, anyways, let's go on. So all you just need is this URL that you have to give to your employees to be able to access this, or of course you might want to custom it. You might want to custom this to be able to, depending on your preference or choice, you might want to also custom it to suit wherever you want to give to your employees or end users, at least for the sake of ease of use and all that. So I will launch this application. Now, for this particular user, as you can see, we are logging in, or we are logged in as Juan here. And then for this other guy, we've simulated this as Abiodun. Yeah, we simulated this as Abiodun as a user, which of course I can always come over on unsubscribe this guy and then launch. But typically this is my demo environment, so I might want to do this, but in most cases I'm not going to be sharing my personal device with somebody, so I should of course stick with my login credential. So I will launch this guy too from the web browser right now, so we also have a feel of the web browser session. And of course too, just as I mentioned before, we can also do this from a mobile device by just going to any of our place store and or any of our application store and download that. And then what we just have to do for maybe an Android device or so is just to click on the plus sign and click on add feed, and you should be able to add either your corporate URL or this URL, and that should also work. So I will log in as Juan. I type in my password, and then it tries to establish a connection for me to the full desktop. Now I would also, okay, yeah, so this is the full desktop we have. I would also launch this from, let me unpin this guy so I have a wider screen. Let me just try to quickly kill, just the same way, the same native way you've always used your Windows 10 machine. So the same way you'll be able to, as you can see, we have just Joan as the only user logged in for now. Let me just sign him out, and okay, let me kill some few processes which I don't want that before I do that. Okay. So okay, let's just this is not a problem at all. So back here, of course, I can also have, just as I've published this guy. Normally in production, you might not want to do maybe having this person have to adding him to different sessions and all that, or to different hosts rather. So you might just want to keep it simple that, okay, what you just want to give access to is just applications, and that's just what it is. Or maybe this particular kind of group should have access to full desktop, and that's just what it is. So okay, so let me quickly, as you can see, the same thing too. And another good part, as I mentioned before, is that you can roam your profile. That's to say, wherever you do, irrespective of whichever system you find yourself in, your profile is still carried along. So that's to say, your content, everything you've been doing, is still being stored for you somewhere, and then you can as well do all that or access whatever you want to access, whether or not you find yourself in this desktop or on this desktop. So let me see if I can launch Abiodun. As for Juan, we are not seeing any application, just as I mentioned before, because Juan has not been published to any application group. So just Abiodun. And for the sake of this demo too, I would also try to quickly publish one more user so we can move ahead with this. So okay, sorry. Okay, fine. Let me just quickly publish. I don't want to go through Abiodun's profile again. We've seen Abiodun's profile. So let's quickly publish one more user. Yes. So I think I have another user called Blessed or something in my list of users. So I will just quickly do this. Yeah. Okay, I think I need to quickly log in first. I think I've cleared this session before, so that's why it's bringing up this. So I'll quickly log in as, of course, and it's not just any kind of user that can do this, actually. You must, of course, have the necessary rights you need, like a global administrator right or something that you need to be able to do this. And in areas of security too, we've also tried to implement MFA, which is very important. And it's a good thing now that Microsoft has decided to make MFA a de facto now, as something you would always get by default once you are onboarding. So that will also help. Okay, no, I don't want to do this again. Okay, fine. So I will launch Blessed. Now, as you can see, it's asking me for MFA setup. That's because I've not used this account before. So, and I'm just signing in for the first time on this account. So I will just quickly set up the MFA. So it's also assumed that if you already have MFA done from your own end, you might not need to do, or for your users, you might not need to do this whole process again. I will just have to choose this option, and I will quickly configure this as fast as I can. Okay, yeah, I'm basically using my phone to do this setup because that's what is needed, and then it should be fine. So that's one thing. That's one layer of security we've added, but that has been added to this, and it's also advised to be done. Implementing MFA, and of course, we can also want to implement conditional access to, where you want to probably give conditions on where this, or what and what this person should be able to, or where this person should be able to access this application from. Yes, as some of us might want to say, okay, fine, our people are working remotely from home now, but of course, you are not outside Nigeria. You don't want any kind of suspicious activity that will not happen. Maybe some kind of login now happening to from somewhere, maybe in America or something. Of course, it's really an abnormality which you don't want to actually do. So you want to put all these things in place as your own security step to ensure, just as Amaka mentioned, of course, security is a shared responsibility. And of course, the good part of this too is that there is no sort of inbound or outbound ports opened. It's actually using some kind of reverse technology setup. Yeah, reverse technology setup that Microsoft has done. So there is no kind of inbound or outbound that is opened, that open port that is actually implemented in this. So that security area is taken care of by Microsoft. But this is another additional step we need to take care of, ensuring that we implement MFA and the other kind of stuff. So let me not launch this again. Let me launch Power BI that I've not launched before on this particular user right now. So just as I mentioned before, once you do this, you don't need to come over again. I can just, next time if I want to launch, let's say Microsoft Word. Now, how do we get to know which is Microsoft Word that is coming from this WVD service and which is Microsoft Word that is probably installed natively on my machine? It has this bracket, this word here in brackets now, saying or mentioning the tenant name that this has been provisioned, which is LBAN WVD1. So that is also a way of it differentiating between what is native. As you can see, I have my native Excel, which doesn't have that, and I have Microsoft Word here, which has that. So if I come again, I can easily launch this without having to, as you can see, I'm still logged in as Abiodun, or yeah, because I've used this before, without having to go through this process as I mentioned before. So let me quickly launch this guy. Let me quickly complete this sign in. Okay, yeah, this can as well take some time on the first connection, but I think finally we are here. So basically, just as my colleagues, while we're waiting for this to come out, just as my colleague also mentioned, as you can see that this thing is not, we actually, of course, you have two options that you may want to choose, either a personal or a pooled version of this. Now, we've done this using pooled because you will want to also check what and what is required of your users, okay? You don't want, probably you want to also minimize cost. You would want to, of course, provision a pooled device for most times, just as they have mentioned, most times the users might not be using a greater proportion of this resource. So why would you want to waste that kind of resource when you can actually put these people on a good device for them to just work effectively and efficiently too? So we are waiting for this to launch. This is actually the first time, so that's why there might be a bit of delay, because this is the first time I'm initializing this. I've not used this account before to do this. So basically, what is happening is everything is happening in the desktop area, on the desktop background, but the user is not seeing all that, which it's really cool, because there might not be any need for the users to see all that. What they just need is have access to the application, do their work, and they are done. So, but of course, I've mentioned before, just to reiterate, that if you wish to also put these users on a full desktop, then you can as well want to go for that option and do that. It all depends on what you feel is appropriate for your environment. So I will quickly sign in this guy. And just as my colleague Jordan has mentioned, the things you need, of course, I know most of us already use Office 365 or M365 license. These things are really useful when it comes to probably activating or accessing the Microsoft Office solutions. So as you can see, even before I'm able to get access to this desktop, I need to authenticate that I am, or approve that I'm the one actually signing in with this account to this application. So that really helps a lot to really limit illegitimate access to corporate resource. So we quickly move over to the portal. Yeah. So based on the conditional access I was talking about too, you can also want to implement this. So I think we've also tried to check this for Abiodun. So let me quickly go over to um, Lest, who is a newer user right now, to test this too. So what I'm trying to say here is that if this person is in Nigeria, what should happen? If he's using this kind of device to access this application or this application, what should happen? Of course, it should require a multi-factor authentication, or the device should be compliant. That's one of two things, as you can see from this policy that's going to apply on this particular user. And if I change it to any other location other than Nigeria, based on how it has been configured, or based on how we've configured this, then of course it should actually block this person having access to that resource, because it's going to flag this as a malicious signing. Of course, you can't be in Nigeria and be in North Korea at the same time. So what you can do, even if you have users working in countries like this, you might want to now probably create a policy for them and assign their specific public IP addresses or something that you might want to, or use a service tag or something that you might want to say, okay, if you see something like this, you should allow, because this person is a trusted user. So let's head over to this. I think we are okay. Yeah, I've not signed up for Power BI before. So as you can still see that even though there is no kind of web browser published for this user, this guy can still use or call whatever resource he needs to call from behind, from the background, even without the user having to have access to that. So this is actually limited to the resources that is required for this resource to actually work on. So it's not like maybe any kind of resource that the person can call. So I will just do sign up for this guy. Okay, so I can resign in again. And then approve one more time. Then we should be done. Then once I've done the approval, okay, I think there's a bit of network lag here. I've actually approved. So let's see if this is going to. Okay, let me try to refresh this browser. Then sign in again. I don't know I'm putting this down. So the rest. Okay, so I think we are signed in. Why is this thing sign up? Okay. Okay, fine. I'll quickly go on with this after this one more. Okay, fine. I think we are in. So I don't need this guy again. Okay, so that's just basically what it is in this area. Yeah, just as I mentioned that we can roam this profile to wherever. So let me quickly show us that section right now. Let me see, am I still logged in? Okay, let me log into another machine. Okay, Okay, just as I mentioned before, that we can of course want to customize this URL to our corporate URL. So this is my corporate URL here, which once I give this to my user and I launch, it redirects them to the same page we've previously used before, and it's easy for the users to who probably will not want to maybe remember this, or who probably did not add this to their favorite or something, and who can connect with. It all depends on the preference. So why this is taking time is because this is the first time that this user is launching into this application. So, okay, so that's just what it is from my end. So, would of course want you to um, we of course want you to ask questions. If there's any question, then we can quickly touch out on those elements that must be of concern to you. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Uche, for this wonderful demo. We have two questions so far. One is from Frank and the other is from Sheon. So
Okay.
Frank's question is, how does this work with non-Windows systems? That is Microsoft, non-Microsoft systems now. How does this solution that you just demoed to us, how does it work with non-Windows systems? I think it's also referring to, Linux desktops and all that. Does this solution, does it support Linux desktop, for instance, or Mac?
Yes. I think currently, Microsoft has also added that Linux functionality where you can also have the Linux thing coming on board, and then we can use that. So it works well with the Linux. It also works well with the Mac OS.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. The other question is from Sheon, and Sheon is asking, does the remote desktop app allow for single sign-on, so you don't have to enter your password every time you want to launch an app?
Of course. Just of course, this is a demo, so we didn't do all that too, but it supports single sign-on. It all depends on the policies too. You might also want to put on your MFA policy that, okay, fine, if you're in this current location, or if you're coming from this, signing in from this place, you don't want to ask this person again to probably do or re-authenticate, or of course, just as I mentioned, you can as well want to configure a single sign-on. So once you log in initially, you don't have to keep logging in and logging in over and over again, or it keeps or prevents to keep prevent it from keep asking you of MFA authentication over and over again. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. I would also like to ask that, attendees, if you also have questions that you have in your mind, and, we can address them for you and then give you the appropriate feedback that you need on them. There's also another question from Mandu. That was the first question that came in. This question is going to Abiodun. So Mandu was asked, what happens to our current existing licenses? That question is for Abiodun. So Mandu is asking, what happens to our current existing licenses? Based on your discussion earlier regarding licenses.
I don't know the kind of license but when you see the slide later, if you look at the slide very well, the license probably already has that you can actually work well with. But if the license that you currently own, the license you currently own, you just need to get Azure subscription, and once you subscribe on Azure, you could actually set up your games and you understand.
Okay. Another question came in. So Anonymous is asking, this question goes to Uche. In your experience, how much data is used daily for a moderate user that uses a number of transactional web apps? How much data is used daily for a moderate user that uses a number of transactional web apps? Uche?
Okay. Okay. In that answer, or in that regards, well, basically, from my own experience, the data consumption can actually be relative to what it could, what the transaction that the person could, of course, be using or something, which I cannot absolutely say anyways. It's relative to the processes and all that this person is going to be consuming.
Okay. Any other questions, please, from the attendees? Those are the questions that we have now. Okay, I'll just give you a minute or two to type your question if you have any. If you don't, so that we can gradually round up and move forward on this. We can share our details with you, our website, how to get more information on this solution that that we've presented and demoed to you today. Of course, if you have further questions, if you can't ask them now, you can always send us a mail and we'll be happy to address whatever your queries are. So just a minute for any other question. Okay, so there is a question from Christy, and she is asking, sorry I joined late. I didn't quite get what Microsoft Tools, the demo, is about. I saw Power BI and Teams. The question again is, sorry I joined late. I didn't quite get what Microsoft Tools, the demo, is about. I saw Power BI and Teams.
Okay, do you want me to take that?
Okay, Uche, that's fine. So essentially, the demo for this product today is called Windows Virtual Desktop. It's Windows desktop and application virtualization solution by Microsoft. So essentially, there are two ways to. This is supposed to enable remote working. Working outside of the office. So this infrastructure is deployed right on the cloud, and then you can have access to your desktop anywhere you are at any time, within the country or outside the country. So what Uche was demoing is to show that you can run different applications that is already installed on the backend image that was used to deploy your desktop. So he was just using Power BI and Teams to demo that, applications can run. We have Office suite of applications to can run, and line of business applications tools can run as well. So what you saw was just two applications that he just decided to demo for this purpose. Okay. Okay, and then another question from Christy. For those that have Office 365 subscription, is there any subscription that includes the virtual desktop, or is it an entirely separate subscription? Okay, I think Biodun addressed that earlier. Biodun, can you just answer Chinedu? Chinedu's question again is, for those that have Office 365 subscription, is there any subscription that includes the virtual desktop, or is it an entirely separate subscription?
All right, thank you, Mr. Ayo. As I said earlier, so virtual desktop, for you to have access to this, you already own Azure. You have some Azure. It does actually take out of your Azure applications to have access to all this. However, there are some licenses that goes well with it, that with it you can actually publish some of the applications you have on the license, talking about Windows, Microsoft Office 365 and the licenses that already have Windows, talking about M365 and Microsoft 365 E5 and Microsoft 365 Debian and the Windows Enterprise and Windows NT and Microsoft 365 A3 and different as well.
Okay, thank you very much for your response, Building. So, in the absence of any other question, I'd like to call on Kelechi. Kelechi is our marketing exec. He'll just give a brief vote of thanks and then share our website info, emails that you can write to get more feedback regarding this product, and also our social media handles that you can follow to get more information. So, Kelechi, are you there? Okay, Kelechi is not there. Although another question has come in, Chinedu said he couldn't hear your response properly, clearly, Biodun. I guess it's the distortion on the wire. So, Chinedu, if you could please share your email address, Biodun will get back to you with his response on your question earlier. And Lukman is saying, I didn't get some of the demo due to poor network from ends. Will the presentation be shared to attendees? Yes, we can get this presentation across to you. No problem about that. Just share your email address. I think we already have that. We'll share it with all our attendees, so you can have more, the information that you require. Okay, so I want to thank everybody, all the attendees, for taking the time out to attend this event. Like we said, this Windows Virtual Desktop solution is really going to help you unlock a whole bunch of opportunities, especially in the times and the universe that we are in due to this COVID-19 situation. And you never can tell. There just might be another lockdown. Hopefully this will not be the case, but if that's what happens, we need to still be able to ensure that our employees are able to work remotely and ensure that they are able to deliver on whatever task or project or jobs that they are assigned to. So thank you very much. We appreciate your feedback, of this presentation. We'll share our website is www.lotusbetaanalytics.com, and our email is info@lotusbetaanalytics.com. I think our Twitter handle is at Lotus Beta Analytics. Okay, so thank you very much. Have a nice day, guys. And like I said, if you have any other question or queries, please get in touch with us. We'll be happy to address them. Thank you. Have a nice day.